Time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Mr. Senzo Mchunu.
Thank you very much, Kamo. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My greetings to the Chair of Water, Advocate Ashata. Thank you very much for your presence. Let me greet the CEO as well, Susi Pomozai. Thank you very much for your presence. Having done so, I just want first to say why we're here. We are here because we recognize that there are a number of, I would call it disruptions of water supply, but in fact, it is work that is being done in Gauteng, work that is being done in eThekwini, work by Umgeni Water and eThekwini Municipality, and work that is being done by our office in Gqeberha together with the city there. Now, we want to address these three areas. As far as Umgeni is concerned, as far as Water is concerned, we are in continuous conversation with the board. The chair and the CE are here. We are aware that they have been communicating with the residents of affected areas around Gauteng. And I want to take this opportunity that we are here to support them and the message that they are conveying and they have conveyed. I saw in the morning the COO of Water was on TV making further announcements on detail in terms of places or areas that are going to be affected, but also dealing with the number of hours that the affected areas are going to be affected, but also dealing with exactly what is happening, what is that is being done. I want to highlight two things. The first one is to allay the fears of the affected areas and the people of South Africa generally, that we don't have a crisis of water. I see in various media from time to time, you come across the use of the word crisis. On average, we are not on crisis, in any crisis of water. But I know, quickly I have to explain this, that there are areas in the country that are either getting less than the required supply, but in some cases no water at all. And as far as those areas are concerned, we may talk about a crisis in those areas where there is no water at the moment. But we need to avoid exaggeration to say the whole country is affected, but it's going through a crisis. But in Gauteng in particular, it's a question of the work that is being done for the number of hours, and then the chair and the CEO will explain what will happen to those homes that are affected in the meantime during those 54 hours. And we're inviting the public and everybody to be patient with us, to bear with us, and we want to apologize for any inconvenience that will be experienced by the people of Gauteng during this maintenance program that is going to be explained in detail here. But having dealt with that, I want to also get to the second point. Second point is to say we are going to keep a very close watch on whatever repair in terms of time and in terms of the levels of cleanliness of water after recovery, just to make sure that water that residents receive will be clean water again, and it will be enough supply. But we do need to say overall, as the people of South Africa, we need to get to this understanding that we don't have as much water as we need. In other words, the demand for water in the country and in all provinces and in all districts and metros and in all locals is higher than what we have available as water. That doesn't mean that we're in crisis. It only means that when we go and open a shower, make up your mind, open up a tap, get in there, shower, and stop water as soon as possible. When you go and wash your teeth on the sink, don't open a tap, wire. Open it as and when you are ready with your toothpaste, and you clean your teeth and you stop water from flowing, because we just have to allow next door to have access to water as well. Water is life, and there's no one who should have more water than any other person. We should learn to actually conserve the water that we have, and we're appealing to everybody to be sensitive. We're appealing to everybody to really be considerate in terms of the use of water. We're doing this because we know we're dealing with a very sensitive matter, a matter that gets you immediately emotional when you can't have access to water. You become very emotional because you are now ready to shower or to wash or to do anything, and there's no water from the system. And we're very sensitive to that. So to all the residents of Gauteng, we apologize, but we will explain in detail. I want to move on to eThekwini. eThekwini, the issue is once more repairs that are being undertaken by Mchunu Water Board. We have on standby, virtually linked to this platform, the chair of the board of Mchunu. We had a chat, we had a conversation in terms of the work that they are doing in part of Durban. They are working hard. We're going to monitor them until they are able to finish the work or complete the work that they are doing. It's an issue of repairing a pump. They have sent people, a team of experts, to go and assess the pump in Durban Water Heights, and they will then get the outcome of the assessment. And once they are sure of the assessment, they will then start acting on the outcome of the assessment and the work that needs to be done in that particular pump. And as a result, a number of places are affected, including Umlazi, Phoenix, and a number of other areas in between. We apologize to the residents of eThekwini, particularly those that will be affected and therefore will be getting reduced water. And we're talking about reduced water. It's not a question of no water at all. If any household experiences a complete cut, please contact the relevant authorities in eThekwini. We're in touch with them. They sent us a statement that they issued to the residents explaining the problem. We appreciate what they have done, both eThekwini and Mchunu Water. We are backing them up, we are supporting them all the way, and therefore appealing to the residents on their behalf to be patient with them. And as soon as the problem is known and has been ascertained, we will start working on them, and they have our full support in doing that, and it will be done within the shortest possible time. We must apologize for the inconvenience. Down in Gqeberha, there it's a threat that is coming with regard to the city of Gqeberha and the people. At the moment there is water, but it's restricted water that people are getting there, far less than what they are used to, and we would want to appeal to them to be patient with us. But what we are working on in Gqeberha specifically is to ensure that water doesn't stop to flow There was a threat, media threat, by end of November, beginning of December, that there may be no water at all in the city. It's not the case. The part that is affected is the western part of the city of Gqeberha. And what we are going to do to alleviate the problem in the course of doing the repairs and maintenance that we are doing there and are going to do, we will send water, mobile water, that is in mobile trucks, the water cans, and we will make sure that all the people at least get water on a daily basis. And we will be monitoring this in the duration of the problem until we overcome it. But what we are working on specifically, the Noordgedacht pipe that will supply finally water from the Orange River to Gqeberha is going to be underway. Phase 1 is done, completed. Phase 2 is done, completed. What we now have to do is phase 3, so that the whole of Gqeberha gets a clean supply of water without any disruption. Even though we still have to say, even at that time, we will have to make a humble request to people, and a very strong request, that there isn't enough water meeting our demand, even in that city. And therefore, we want to appeal to them to bear with us and to use water cautiously, because water will be restricted throughout the period. And even in future, there is going to be reasonable restriction of water there. And so we take this opportunity to people of Gqeberha to say, please bear with us. Two things, as I explained: there will be trucks supplying water to the western part, but we are working on, from a meeting right now, we are working on phase 3, just to make sure that we allay the fears of the people of Gqeberha with regard to the supply of water. With this, I just want to once more say apologies to the inconvenience, but at the moment I want to call the chair of the board, Rand Water, who is with us here, to give more information on Rand Water, after whom there will be, she will call on the CE. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and colleagues, and good afternoon to the viewers and listeners at home. And thank you for giving us the opportunity and the time to explain to you in more detail. I know the matter has already enjoyed quite a bit of coverage, but thank you for giving us the opportunity to explain in more comprehensive detail the reason for why there may be interruptions in your supply of water if you are in Gauteng and in the area that is affected. As we do planned maintenance as Rand Water and undertake augmentation activity on our pipeline, which the Chief Executive will speak about in greater detail just after I step down here. This is a planned program. It's quite an extensive program. Sometimes when we undertake parts of the program that we're busy with, that is lasting actually quite a few years, our capital program, our renewal program, you don't even feel it or you don't even see it. But the part that is being undertaken at the moment is so extensive that it does require this kind of communication, because it may impact businesses and citizens in Gauteng. It is important to stress that Rand Water operates quite an intensive environment, an asset-intensive environment. That is to say, we have large infrastructure, pipelines, purification stations, pumps, valves, very, very large infrastructure that I think in the CE's presentation you'll be able to see just how big the Rand Water network is. But the important thing about that infrastructure and that asset base is that it requires regular maintenance. If we don't maintain it, then it will fail. So, and in order to sustain its lifespan, we need to make sure that it continues to perform reliably. We do condition assessment on the infrastructure regularly. We test where it's at, and we test what kind of planned maintenance is required, or renewal or replacement even in some instances. And this is to ensure that we continue to have an appropriate asset base to operate from, to deliver from, and that it continues to be safe to operate. It continues to be energy efficient to operate, environmentally friendly to operate, and also that it meets compliance regulations. Any major piece of machinery or equipment, when you buy it, you get information about how you must operate it and how you must maintain it. And Rand Water is doing exactly that in terms of the augmentation program that the Chief Executive will speak about. But more than that, more than just maintaining the existing infrastructure, very often we also have to look forward and consider the growth that is happening in our area of supply. Growth in terms of population growth, business growth, and other kinds of developments that may be happening that would require that we change our methods and our capacity in order to be able to meet that growth or that change in demand. So all these are very important things to understand and to ground the work that is happening at the moment. The most important thing, this is regular, this is planned, this is not a failure of the infrastructure. This is something that we have been planning to do for a while, and we have been talking to our customers, our direct customers, the municipality, for a while about planning and timing this activity that the Chief Executive will be talking about. I'm sure you will be able to appreciate that it is better that we do these things in a planned way rather than reactively, which would mean we would have a situation where we're reacting to a maintenance issue rather than doing it proactively. Minister, I have been assured that our customers, the municipalities, have been fully briefed and consulted, and you will appreciate that a program of this scale cannot be undertaken by Rand Water acting in a silo all by itself. We do need to consult and cooperate with the municipalities and get them to be ready so that they can be ready where water supply can get low, or areas can go without supply, that they are ready with the tanks and the other methods of supplying citizens and businesses. Yes, we are aware that it might affect citizens, it might affect businesses, it might affect places of service delivery like schools and clinics and so on. We're hoping that the interruption will be minimal, but we do also understand, and we need the public to join us in this understanding that it is sometimes unavoidable when you're doing maintenance of this large scale, that some areas will go without water and that you will need to do alternative supply. The program that we are doing, the maintenance program that we are doing on the B19 pipeline, as we call it, that the CE will be talking about, is to ensure that this pipeline, we extend its useful lifespan. Number one, we increase the capacity in order for it to be able to supply more. Number two, but also we're also doing cost containment, because this improvement will ensure that this asset can operate in a more energy efficient manner. And as it operates in a more energy efficient manner, it means we're saving on operating costs, which I'm sure the citizens of Gauteng would like us to do. So what we are doing is really to increase efficiency, to increase longevity of the pipeline, the reliability of the infrastructure, to make sure that it continues to work properly and without cause for concern, But most importantly, we would like the citizens to understand that as Rand Water, we are in stewardship of this large infrastructure that we're talking about. We are looking after this infrastructure. We don't just want to use it for today, to supply water today, but we want to make sure that this infrastructure that is in our hands continues to be able to supply the citizens of Gauteng and beyond into the future. And so it's also about sustainability of the infrastructure and to use it responsibly and to take care of it responsibly. So that is the plea that I'm making, Minister, to the citizens, is to say that we understand the inconvenience, but please also do understand that we are doing what we actually are supposed to do, to look after the infrastructure. And at this point, I would like to hand over to the Chief Executive, Mr. Sipho Musai, who will go into more detail about what exactly is happening with the B19 pipeline.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Minister, ladies and gentlemen, and viewers at home. As the Chair and the Minister have indicated, the object of my presentation is to just provide details of exactly what we're doing, where we're doing, how we're doing, and when do we anticipate to complete it, and part of some of the information we have already shared with our consumers in our area of supply. So the presentation is very quick, 10-slide presentation, just gives an indication of exactly also where we, and indeed if we are on schedule, and when do we anticipate to actually finish with the maintenance that we currently have started at exactly 5 o'clock this morning. Just want to get the presentation moving. It's not moving up there, but be it as it may, I just wanted to just share with you how complex this system is that we are operating as Rainwater. Could we have somebody assisting to just ensure that that moves? I think it would be very interesting piece of information for viewers to see at home. Yeah, we all know. Yeah, the essentially, as it has been indicated, Rainwater uses a network of pipes to supply water. Across the length and breadth of our area of operation, we've got about 3,500 kilometers of those pipes. Some of the pipes, and most of them, are drinking water pipes. Essentially, they take water from a purification station into the municipal reservoirs. But we do also have pipes that take water from the catchment. We call them raw water pipes. These pipes essentially take water, raw means not purified yet, from the Vaal River system, but mainly from the Vaal Dam. And these pipes convey that water into our purification works. We purify, then we distribute in bulk. The B19 and B11, I think one of the things that I also need to explain is that we give our pipes names. What is trying to sort that out. So what happens is that we give our pipes names. So the B11 is a name and a surname of a pipe. So the pipes that are taking water from Vereeniging into the areas of our supply, the A lines, the pipes that are taking water from our Zekerbosch treatment works into our pipe network are B lines. The pipe that we're talking about now, which is B19 and B11, these are the pipes that are taking water to one of our purification works, which is Vereeniging. We've got two of them. We've got Zekerbosch, which provides 2/3 of our water supply, and Vereeniging that provides only 1/3 of our supply. On average, we supply about 4,600 million liters of water a day. Vereeniging supplies 1/3 of that. So this B9, B19 and B11 only takes about 600 million liters of raw water into Vereeniging. So what we're talking about, we're talking about only the maintenance of a pipe that will affect only about 13% of our purification works. So I repeat again, and this is extremely important. This is not the entire shutdown. This is not the closing of, this is not the cutting of water. We supply 4,600 million liters of water a day. We are only taking out 600 million liters of a day. That is why most of the areas this morning that may be affected by water still had water, precisely because it's not a complete shutdown, it's a limited shutdown of a pipe that takes water into one of our purification works, and indeed there are other many pipes that do exactly that. That is why it is really not a cut-off and a shutdown. So essentially what we're also wanting to do, or perhaps in fact not also, but the first thing is that what is this thing B19 that we're talking about? As we speak, we have a pipe called B11, takes water to Vereeniging. What we are wanting to add and do, as the chairperson and the minister is saying, is to add an additional pipe. In fact, we have added that pipe, one, to assist us to provide additional water, raw water, into Vereeniging purification work going forward. So it's an augmentation in that way. So we are adding additional pipes to augment and supplement the water. We all know that South Africa is looking at various developments, and none of those developments can really take place if there is no water. So the first and most important things is that this B19 is intended to augment. But parallel to that, as has been indicated, it gives us the flexibility to also shut other pipes down in future to be able to maintain the pipes that we have. So that's where the flexibility is coming through. So the second thing is augmentation. The first thing is augmentation. The second thing is the issues of maintenance. But what we do, all our pipes are cross-connected, precisely because if we have a problem in one pipe, we're able to move water into another pipe. So the benefits are really threefold. We're meeting future demands by adding new pipe, but we are also giving ourselves an opportunity to refurbish and maintain going forward. But I think it's also important, lastly, to people to know that our pipes are cross-connected, so we can move one pipe to the other. So really this is actually a culmination of what we call a 10-year augmentation plan that started from 2009, where we are adding additional infrastructure and pipe network into the system. Many that travel and drive through the length and breadth of Gauteng, you've seen a lot of pipes. People were worried about what these pipes are, but indeed it's an indication that the tariffs are working for us, precisely because now we are adding this infrastructure on the ground to not only assist us to ensure that we have water now, but to have water in the future through our augmentation plans. So in terms of breaking it down, this 54-hour maintenance, the first thing that we're going to do in these pipes is to isolate and drain them, the ones that are currently having water. After we do that, after scouring and isolating these pipes, we'll then start cutting the sections out so that we can be able to connect the new and the old pipes. Our estimation of the first portion is that it will take us 11 hours. I'm happy that the first portion of this maintenance has been done. It has been done around 8 hours. So we are on schedule. We are busy cutting down, cutting the existing pipes, the valves and the valve rig will also start coming in, and then following that we'll start welding in, we'll test. We anticipate, as we have indicated, that this will take approximately 54 hours, but we're still on schedule. And I just need to inform the members of public that we are doing pretty well, and then we hope, so far, touch wood, that we'll complete the maintenance brief and on time. So in conclusion, I just wanted to give that indication that the schedule, the maintenance is on time. We are on schedule, And we will continuously communicate together with our municipalities going forward. And should anything be of a need to communicate, should we have any delays. But so far, everything is going well. But I do need to emphasize what our chairperson is indicating, that we are at the point in time in our cyclical augmentation cycle where we are now tying in a lot of pipes. We are tying in all these new pipes that we have invested so much money over the years in to ensure that we have continued supply. So it is a necessary inconvenience to give us that assurance in future that we'll have sufficient water going forward. Thank you so much.
As soon as you finish. So this guy was sitting here all the time.
Thank you very much, Minister, Chairperson and CE. We are now, colleagues, at that point where we're going to take questions. If there are any, and if there are no questions, it's okay. We don't have to manufacture them. What we are going to do, Minister, is we're going to start with questions from the floor, and then we'll go onto the platforms in case there are questions on the platform. Just to indicate, colleagues, that we would ask you that you follow in our example. My name is Sputnik Ratau. I'm the spokesperson for the Department of Water and Sanitation. So when you ask your question, if you could please identify yourself and the media house that you represent, and also indicate who you are directing the question to so that we can be able to better manage that process. We'll start on the floor if there are any questions. These lights are very bright. I see one, I see another to my left and a third. Shall we take these three as a beginner? Okay, the ladies first.
My name is Tata Utofoto.
I think, can you use the mic? I think there's a mic on your table. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Gauteng Sohoto from Kaya 959. My question perhaps is for the Chief Executive, just about the water reductions happening now. I mean, when this was announced, it was announced last week. We were in the middle of load shedding, and I think the country responded. This sounded like a crisis on both fronts. So I guess my question is just, could this have been done earlier at all? Was it possible? Did it have to happen now? Yeah.
It's about timing. Okay, thank you. Shall we go? Oh, he's in. Yeah.
I'm Aviwem Dealer from ENCA. For Rand Water, maybe, just on the status of the infrastructure, we hear that it's quite aged. Given the nature of the infrastructure itself, can we see regular maintenance as we are seeing now? And maybe just an indication of, could this have been avoided given the pandemic that we're in and the encouragement of using water regularly? And then just for the Minister, can we get an overall picture, Minister, of the status of the water in the country? Because we do understand in Gqeberha, as we mentioned, the dam levels there are below 5%, for example. I've been in areas such as Port Alfred where residents say they haven't had water for the majority of the year from their taps, and even a lot of them haven't had water from their taps from last year. So how are you attacking those situations, given that they say they don't see these water tankers coming in regular, and not only in Port Alfred or Gqeberha, areas such as Malotea, Pofong, in Free State have had no water for quite some time now, which would suggest that it is some sort of a crisis. So what's the status nationally, Minister?
Thank you.
Marlon Calvin from News from Africa. Just to follow up on the maintenance plan. Don't know if you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, Tumaola Mchlaudi from News from Africa. A question to the Minister and to the CEO of Rand Water. You had, for the CEO, mentioned that the plan is about 54 hours, maintenance plan, to isolate and cut the pipes. So firstly, I wanted to find out, 54 hours, is that a best case scenario, or is that the worst case scenario? Or are you anticipating it could take longer? Why would it take longer if it does? Or is 54 hours your absolute cutoff time in terms of these disruptions? And secondly, where exactly is the maintenance happening? You mentioned an area, 3,500 kilometers of infrastructure, B9, B11. For the layman on the street, where exactly would this maintenance be happening? Which part of the province? Thank you.
Okay, looking at the number of questions I'm going to ask. Yes, Minister, thank you. The CE will start, but I'm going to ask that we can't hear because of this equipment.
Yeah, I think now that the gadgets are working, perhaps I should start with the last question of exactly where it's happening. And Tumaula, I hope you can see the presentation up there. I think, and probably follow my pointer. So what you see in here that I'm circling is what you call Vereeniging purification works. This is where we purify water. We buy raw water, and this is our business model. We purify it, and then we sell it, clean water, into the municipalities. So we have two purification works, Zekerbosch and Vereeniging in here. So as you can see, probably even through the diagram, Zekerbosch, it's the biggest of the two, which provides about 2/3 of the water that we supply. And on average, as I said, we supply about 4,500 and 600 million liters of water a day. During summer times, we peak at about 5,000. And 1/3 will then come from Vereeniging. So the pipe that we're talking, and all this thing, just in terms of the location, it's in south of Johannesburg in Vereeniging. That is why this one is Vereeniging Purification Works. It's exactly in Vereeniging. And this one, it's just across the street in 3 rivers called Vereeniging, but they are all in the Val in Mfuleni. So this is exactly where our plants are. The B11 that we're talking about, apologies for these annotations, is the name and the surname that we've given our pipe. Its first name is B, its last name is 11. It's exactly here where the pointer is showing. It is a pipe that takes raw water from the Val River system all the way from the Val Dam into Vereeniging. So this is where exactly it's located. This peak as well, I hope also you can also see this valve rigs that we're showing in here. This is how big these pipes are. We're talking 2-meter diameter. You can see the other pipe is taller than the pipe here. The lady that is trying to stretch a hand in that pipe is close to about 2 meters. So we're talking huge pipes. So that's why, and that's how we come up with this 54 hours, because you have to pull it up, you have to move it, you have to align it, you have to make sure that it's in sequence, you have to weld it properly, because if you don't weld it properly, it will burst, and then it starts from scratch. So you have to, it's almost like a precise engineering in terms of exactly what you want to do. So you have to take the old one out, put a new one, cut that pipe out, make sure that you are precise in terms of what you're doing, and then you weld it properly and make sure that it doesn't burst, precisely because it will create bigger problems. So it does take time. Our pipes and our network is quite huge. So in here I also tried to illustrate from the Val Dam. Here is a pipe. This is a currently existing pipe. You can see there's 2 pipes. You're laying one pipe next to each other, and then all the way to Vereeniging purification work. So we're taking water again from the catchment into Vereeniging purification work. We estimate it to be 54 hours, but with this project you hope to finish them on time, and you build the necessary inconvenience, should there be any. What could happen? We may struggle with the welding, but so far we're not struggling with anything. It's going well. It's not the sort of thing that we are doing for the first time, but with this magnitude, it is. And I need to emphasize, as you plan and you maintain and you add additional infrastructure, these things are necessary. But I think it will give us a peace of mind going forward. So I think that deals with the question of the time. It also deals with the question of the exact location. In terms of, I think yours was related to COVID, load shedding. I think as a practitioner, there's never been perfect time to do this. I think for us, these are long overdue as well. As I indicated, we've been laying and buying a lot of pipes and infrastructure over a number of years. These are long-term plans that we've been having as way back because our augmentation cycle is cyclical. There's a period of time when you have to augment, there's a period of time when you have to maintain, there's a period of time when you have to service and so on and so forth. So you plan in advance. So we planned this thing all the way 10 years ago. The pipes are on the ground, now we need to connect. We've been wanting to do this 2 years ago. COVID started, there was lockdown. So I think we believe that we have come to an understanding that we are able to live with COVID. And the beauty about it is that we're not cutting water completely. We are still pumping more than 2/3 of the water that we produce. And we're not talking a complete shutdown. So the water will still be flowing and people will still be able to wash their hands. There may be an inconvenience here and there, but we are happy that with our partners in municipalities, they're making the necessary arrangement. The beauty about this shutdown is that we issued about 15-hour notices for people to have backup water in their households. Should there be an unnecessary inconvenience that may arise as a result of an outage, they can use the water that is there. Many of their households have heeded to that. We have also gotten good feedback from basic education around schools. Most of the principals have made the necessary arrangements so that should they be without water, they are able to ensure that there's continuous teaching and learning that is happening in the school. Most businesses have done exactly the same. Some of them, they have their own in-house reservoirs and they have stored enough water and to ensure that the businesses are continued to be running. We are hopeful that those that have stored water that would not have been affected during this period of time will continue to use that water for, if possible, non-drinking purposes to water their lawns. But again, just to echo the minister's sentiments, I think please switch off the sprinkler systems. I think most of the water goes into gardening. It will ensure that we have enough water to go by through this period of time. Just around issues of load shedding, I think we're lucky that we are at the stage where there's no load shedding at this point in time. But even if there is load shedding, we know that our consumers have and our municipalities have got all these backups in-house to have water. But what we also did leading up to this period of time, we fill a lot of water in our reservoirs. That is why we started at 6 and now it's what now? 2 o'clock. Everybody still has water because we had enough water in the reservoirs. So we are hoping that as we progress throughout the day and even tomorrow, because our people will be using water sparingly, there will still be enough to go about for all of us. I hope I've answered most of the questions, please.
Well, the sea likes saying the beauty about it. The one that he forgot was to mention that finally the system was showing very well, and to residents who are at home at the moment were able to see exactly what we are talking about, so that people are assured that we're actually speaking the truth here and not creating a fuss. On timing, just over and above what CEO was saying, Chair, I think it could have been worse if we wanted to start this just before Christmas. You would have really had the reason to question the timing of rainwater to do repairs. Now it's way before so that people, by the time we come to Christmas and families join one another, members join one another, and so on. People are relaxed, and there is water. Now, let me just answer your question on overall, the situation overall. The situation overall is South Africa is a water scarce country. In other words, South Africa has less water than its needs overall. We are talking about domestic water for various uses. We are talking about water to sectors of business like agriculture, like industries, like normal business, commercial business, anywhere else. Now, the water that we have at the moment, if you lift your eyes and say, how much water do we have in the country? It will always be less than the demand. But that does not mean we are in a crisis. If we manage the water that we have, water that is available at the moment, we will continue. We will manage everywhere in the country. We will go on well. In other words, meeting the constitutional obligation that water is a right, but also meeting our own mantra that water is life. We will be able to meet that, but it requires management. And in that management, led by Department of Water and Sanitation, working with boards, working with municipalities, we need the community, we need citizens of the country to join. So I'm saying, when you shower, mind your neighbor. Don't shower as if you're the only one and that you will never shower again, as if you want to use all the water that is available. You want to empty whole of the whole geyser just for yourself, because in the process of showering, you also want to include a bit of massage. That water must massage. Now, when you get to that level, you must know you are in breach of our request. So please use water sparingly and understand that all of us need water. Now, the second point, I've already said it, that we require high management of the resources that we have, and we are doing that. But I must add this opportunity that it is for this reason that 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting with my counterpart, Minister Mosenene from Lesotho, where we were discussing how to even further augment water that is available, so that we don't all of a sudden wake up and we have a crisis in South Africa. We need to continue augmenting the valve. The valve supplies more or less 19 to 20 million people in South Africa as a system, from the mouth down to, from the source right down to the mouth, across a number of provinces. So it's a major system supporting various sectors of. So it's always important that you ensure that you have enough water in the valve. Now, the outcome of that meeting was to increase the pace of phase 2 of that project, Lesotho Highlands Water Project. Phase 1 is done, complete, but we're now on phase 3, but it had some hitches we had to meet, and now we are going to see the implementation of the project picking up at the necessary speed, in line with the assessment or projections of water availability in the valve system. That is what we're doing, so that people don't sit at home and then have anxiety that the following week what's going to happen, and so on. So we are looking at that. We are looking after that. If necessary, we will need to go beyond, as we do more and more projections, go beyond the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. But for now, That is what we're focusing on in terms of augmentation plans. But this augmentation is not just the valve system. KZN, the two cities, will be there in December after all the dust of elections are settled down, to actually have a meeting with leadership there to deal with augmentation of water for the city of Maritzburg, Msunduzi, and Ethekwini, because projections are saying they are going to run out of water very soon unless we do something. We don't want to get to that stage. That's why in this December we are going there before we close to have a meeting, take final decisions. How do we move? And we have a plan. That is what we'll be presenting to them. But it will also affect two other districts, Uku and Herikwala districts. But in the north of the province, we're also going there we're going there beginning of December, almost at the same in the same week, both in the north and south, and in both cases we have plans. We all know people of Mkhanya would have been complaining about water all the time. Now we're addressing that. We're going there to address those problems. Now, Gauteng is covered. Free State, you refer to Maluta Pufung. I'm from a meeting now. We went to Maluta Pufung, not in a rally, not for a rally, not for anything, but to plan water, to ensure that finally the people of Maluta Pufung get water, without going to the streets and without closing N3. It's not necessary. We sat down for, I think, a 3-hour meeting, 3 to 4 hour meeting. Now we're at a stage where we're making progress, because the water is not a problem of having no source for the people of Maluta Pufung all the time. Sterkfontein is there. It's a dam that supplies them. It's full. It supplies Gauteng and Maluta Pufung and Kwakwa areas. And the issue is there is water from Sterkfontein to the reservoirs. But the problem is that the municipality of Maluta Pufung was not able to then draw water from those reservoirs, reticulated to the citizens around those areas. That is what we went there for, to say, Maluta Pufung municipality, you choose. Tell us the truth. Are you able to reticulate water, or you want our intervention? The result was that we have a situation, a resolution to cooperate. They will contribute financially because we give them WISIC money. In other words, that's water money for infrastructure, and we want all that money to go to the infrastructure that will reticulate water to people. We will add, province will add. Everybody must cough out money so that we are able to fulfill that promise, and we are going to do just that. I'm told that since our discussion there, 20% of the work has been done in terms of reticulation. We're working with them on that. But also elsewhere is Limpopo. We are going there this Friday. Main thing is to attend to the people of Guyana. They are a national issue. We are going there not for a rally once more, to actually get face to face with the people, with the villages, 55 of them, but we are meeting Amakosi and other stakeholders, municipalities there. But the main aim why we're going there will be in overalls, is to make sure that the pipe from Nandoni down to Guyana is getting completed once and for all, and as soon as possible. So we're going to actually go to the spot to say, from here back to Nandoni, how many kilometers, how much work has been done, how much work is still outstanding. And then from the point where we will be down to Guyana, when will the pipe be laid down and connected properly? And when do we start? And in Guyana, we'll also be looking at reticulation to all the villages in Guyana to say how far has work started and how far is that work. And we want to see, we don't want presentation on slides and so on. We want to go and touch whatever they say will be done, and we say, for the work that has been done, how much have you spent? How much is outstanding? And then we budget and fund accordingly. That's what we're going to be doing. We do understand the issue of Mahikeng, in particular, that they are running short of water. It's a question of low supply, because it has taken time to attend to the main pipe supplying water to the residents of Mahikeng. Even there, we apologize for the slow supply, for the low supply of water there. But when I left the meeting, we were addressing the issue to say we have to speed up. We almost have to replace the pipe, the main pipe there, and the department is attending to that so that people can get the normal supply. Probably we'll have to put in a new line, do like Rand Water is doing. We have two pipes. When you have a problem with the other, you connect the other while you attend to the problem so that you don't have disruption. But we know that generally outlying areas, rural areas around Ziras and all other places, they are short of water. And we are going to get there and deal with their issues, both urban and rural. Nobody is going to be left out without water. And we in Northern Cape, for now, our focus is on Valgamagara, which we are doing with the business sector. We were going to get an update today on how far the partnership has gone, so that we have that scheme running up and running. Well, in Port Alfred, we went there in September. They are doing very well. That's one of the municipalities that have very good schemes. They are doing desal there on a large scale. They may have a hitch or two at the moment, and we are attending to those. They told us that there was a breakdown of supply, and I hope that that has been attended to by now. And Kabeja have indicated they are getting supply restricted, and we need to complete phase 3 of Noordgedacht pipe from Orange River to supply it. But it's just the western part that is affected of the city, not the whole of the city, not the CPT as well. And we are going to do several temporal measures there. But all in all, we know that standing here, there are areas all over the country that are really, really suffering. And some have suffered for quite a long time. We will take one step at a time. In some cases, almost 2 or 3 or 4 steps at a time. So while we attend matters in a particular area, but in another area also, some of us are attending. We have 2 deputies, and we are working with them, and all of us go all over. But within reasonable time, we will have covered. Of course, for now, our focus is the key schemes, the major schemes to supply water, whether it is Kukuni, whether it is down in Mokopane and other areas around that. We know they have been complaining about water. And we're going to cover them because we have agreed on a scheme from Flag Boshelo Dam that will run to Mokopane but cover Mchalakwena up to Polokwane. And so our job is cut out for us, and we're focusing on that. Once we're done with major schemes and bulk water, therefore, we will then attend to reticulation, because that's one area where we are having a letdown. In some cases by municipalities that are not functional, districts that are not functional. We are not going to go this way and that way. We are going to ask for Section 63 to intervene. We leave the municipality that is dysfunctional, we put water, because we don't want to get under the bus together with the municipality. That is a water authority. So if they have their own problems, we'll leave them with their own problems, and we'll run with the pipe of water to the communities. That is what is going to happen going forward. We will attend the same as well in terms of sanitation where there is a crisis. But for now, I think that suffices. Once more, I do need to say thank you very much to Rand Water for rising to the occasion. Face the people of South Africa. Explain yourselves in terms of what you are doing, and what they are doing. They have our full support in it, and they are doing it professionally. And the CE says they've already cut the hours. Where there was 3 hours, they have now completed phase 1 or first work, a piece of work in 8 hours. And that is what we appreciate. So it might, and all in all, it might not be 54 hours. We might give ourselves a discount. Just Rand Water having their hands dirty and at work more than 24 hours a day, without any bonus. That is what we need to try so that we meet the demand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister and CE. We have 2 questions from the platform. Ishmael, if you can assist us, please. And then we'll come back to take the last round of questions if there are any on the floor.
Thanks, Chairperson. We actually have about 5 questions.
Oh.
The first one is Celine Love Masikani from ENCA. How much is the cost of this maintenance work, and what informed the time frame of 54 hours? The second set of questions is from Tandom Maeko from Business Day. Can the Minister please give us an update on the process to take over responsibility from the City of Tshwane in order to resolve water supply issues in Hammanskraal as committed to residents of the area in October? The following questions are from Nandika Bukes from Hot 102.7 News. Are there contingencies in place to deal with any problems that may arise in order to ensure the process is not halted but completed efficiently? With water challenges across the country, there are still many instances of burst pipes and leaks that take a while to attend to. Are there plans in place to efficiently deal with these issues by utilities and government? The following questions are from Sinoku Kanya Mtambo from Jacaranda News. What are the risk factors associated with maintenance work of this nature? In essence, is there any risk that the work may not be completed on time, calling for an extension of the water interruptions? That's all I have, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It seems like it's the CE that's earning his salary today.
Yeah, I think the first question is around apologies. The first question is around what is making up the 54 hours. I think in the slide in here we're just breaking it down. The first thing that you need to do when you're dealing with this maintenance, the maintenance of this type of infrastructure, you've got to isolate the valves and drain the pipe. As we indicated, that these are live pipes. They have water. Water is a 365 to 247 business, so our pipes are always carrying water. What you do, you close the valves, you isolate that pipe, and the water that is in there, you scour it or you drain it. So you remove the water completely out because you want to connect a new pipe. So because of the nature and the sheer size of our pipes, we anticipating that work will take 11 hours. Where does 11 hours come from? This comes from our historical experience of dealing with this sort of works. I then indicated that what you then do is to start, cutting into the pipes and the valves and the chambers with the new valve rigs. These valve rigs actually part of the valves that we're going to be connecting through chambers, so that we're anticipating it to be around 35 hours. I think most of the work has to do with the lowering and alignment together with the welding of the valve rigs. So essentially you have a pipe, you remove the valves and the valve rigs in the chambers, you put them back. Because of the sheer size of these, what you need to do, and this is where the time comes in here, you have to lift those rigs up. After you have lifted these rigs up with the crane, you move them, you put them into the valve chamber so that it aligns with the pipe. That alignment is critical. As you would imagine, we're talking huge infrastructure. It will continuously be moving up and down, oscillating. You have to lower it and be precise, because as soon as it's precise, it must sit exactly where the pipes is currently existing with these chambers. After it sits exactly in that period, in that space, you've got to weld it. Welding of this nature is precise engineering. You've got it's a certain type of welding, it has to happen and be spot on. That's where most of the time is. So we have laid pipes bigger than this. Our biggest is 3.5 meter diameter. This is 2 meter diameter. So again, the 30 plus hours that we're talking about really comes from that. What you then do, you have to test. After you've tested, you have to make sure that there's no air. Then you have to open the valves so that it doesn't lock. After you have done that, then you start filling it up. You fill it up slowly, and it gets there. So that really takes time, precisely because of all this detailed work that I'm explaining. We are anticipating, and we're basing on our experience, that it will take that amount of time. Touch wood, we may do it earlier, but we're planning to do it in time. What could happen? This is engineering, and we're dealing with civil issues here. We may struggle with the alignment. It may take us a lot longer than we want. We may struggle with the welding. We may struggle with taking the air out. We may struggle with filling it up. But certainly from our experience, we should be able to complete it in time. So those are the risk factors that we're dealing with. What contingencies do we have? I think, as I indicated, that we ensure that we have sufficient water in the system. Should any of those happen, we still continue a little bit longer with water that we have. But what we also have done, just in terms of this maintenance program, we're not working on our own. We have also requested contractors, external contractors, to work with us, to assist us, to ensure that we have more than enough capacity beyond Renault expertise, and have contractors on site to support us to ensure that we mitigate the risks that may arise. So we do in place have specialists in these areas to deal with that. Best pipes, and the leaks that are happening in the reticulation, I think the minister has attended that. Most of these are happening in the municipal space, and at least from Renault point of view, we work hand in glove with them to attend to those. I think it is a distribution issue, and we are happy that, as the minister indicates, that the next phase of his intervention is to work with Water Services Authority to assist them to deal with the issues of water provision. As we know, that there's a serious challenge with municipalities losing water through non-revenue water, and that needs to be turned around. Certainly from our side, we have worked with many in our area of operation to develop water conservation and demand management plan, to, amongst the others, deal with these pipe bursts as and when they appear, and attend to them soonest. In terms of the question that was asked by ENCA earlier, can we see regular infrastructure maintenance? I think we should. I think as a country, if we are going to really go on this trajectory of growth, of more industries coming in, and as the economy grows, it means infrastructure upgrade is going to be key. And infrastructure, it is what it is, and if you want your infrastructure to last your lifetime, you have to maintain it. You have to go in there, you have to refurbish, you have to maintain, so that we have continuous supply going forward. So we planned to have many of these maintenances, routine maintenance, planned maintenance. But our experience is that if they are planned and communicate properly, South African consumers do understand what you're doing. But people are saying it's a necessary evil. It's not a necessary evil, it's a necessary angel, precisely because that we are doing a good for the benefit of our consumers and the society going forward, particularly as we go towards augmentation. You need to do all this maintenance. So yes, we do have routine maintenance, we have planned maintenance of various sizes and shapes. Some will affect consumers, some may not, but those that we think may affect the consumers will ensure that we communicate in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much once more. This is last round, I'm sure. Sputnik. It's not far what the CEO is explaining, not far from what we do in our homes. Whenever there's a leak on your sink, you have to do repairs. Whenever a tap or two are not functional, or a toilet is not flushing well, you do maintenance, and you have to do that. And we have to anticipate on a bigger scale what could cause whatever disruption, and then do likewise. But I'm just answering two questions on Namaskar. I'm happy to say that we have had a meeting with the Human Rights Commission, I think last week, to discuss this matter of Namaskar and other issues. But as I said in the community meeting in Namaskar, the first thing that we're doing is to connect a pipe to the system that supplies part of Hammanskraal, 3/4 of Hammanskraal, with clean, uninterrupted water to people at Temba who are at the moment not getting a clean supply of water and are being supplied by trucks and all of that. We want to stop that. We want to connect a pipe from areas with clean water to Temba as a temporary measure so that they get clean water while the rest of the problems are being attended to. And what are we going to be attending to? Attending to the whole of the system that supplies them with water. The river, cleaning the Apis River and another tributary, and then dealing with the dam, and then dealing with the reservoirs that supply them, and they will get clean water. But in the meantime, we just want to put clean water. When I left the office now, they were dealing with that matter. We were having a Gauteng Office of Water and Sanitation to report on costing and time of laying that pipe. It's a 5-kilometer pipe, very short, and it shouldn't take us years to deal with that. So we're getting there. So we've had a meeting with the Human Rights Commission, and we are agreed in terms of how we move forward. But we are going to be completing our assessment of taking over Gauteng. I mean, not Gauteng. Taking over Tshwane water if finally we have to, but our attitude is that Tshwane is quite problematic. It's a city that is got a number of sicknesses as we have witnessed almost the whole of last year, and it is time we take a decisive action on that so that we don't to and fro. Since August, we've had, I think, no less than 4 meetings with the city of Tshwane, just dealing with the water, especially at Laudium and Atteridgeville and Hammanskraal. They know that they delayed putting a pipe to Laudium, a dedicated pipe to Laudium, and that's why we have to and now get out of from under the bus and do the things ourselves in terms of looking after people of Tshwane as far as water is concerned. We are going to complete our assessment of the report and then to do as necessary. But Premier of Gauteng was very clear, saying that he wants to dedicate time to elsewhere other than on Tshwane water, and with him we've had a number of meetings as well. The last issue, the last one is leaks and so on, and the leaks, the leaks in cities and towns and smaller towns is the duty of those cities and those towns. We lose more than 40% of water through leaks in the country as a whole. Now, there was a program that was designed and was called War on Leaks, and unfortunately it derailed, and derailed with a lot of money. We're looking at those. We have to look at a new mechanism to say, how do we change the form, and but it will have to be from municipalities and so on, and then we assist them. But they are good at mentioning. I listen to many mayors of water authorities, districts and towns saying, no, there's old infrastructure. We're pleading with them that we need to say more than mentioning old infrastructure repeatedly, and we'll be working with them where possible, and where not possible, we'll then deal with these matters directly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Colleagues, in the interest of time, we have to bring the briefing to a close. Minister Mchunu, thank you very much for the time. Advocate Hashas, Chairperson of Rand Water, thank you for being here. CE, thanks for the engineering lesson. Very brief, but very helpful. Colleagues, thank you very much for the time that you've offered us for this afternoon. Thank you very much. We close the meeting.